Okay, Alexa, stop. Okay, so here we are. I'm doing a quick dealio here. The president just had this cabinet meeting, or he's just started this cabinet meeting, and I recorded it. I got, I don't know, about halfway through or something, and realized that almost everything he said was misdirection or taking credit for something that he doesn't, you know, that is overly taking credit, and stuff like that. This guy, so I want to, basically I recorded it, I want to play it through so that you can hear it. And I'm going to add in my commentary while I go along. And so, I don't know, maybe kind of MST3K kind of style, maybe. So, here we go. I'm going to start the thing. Might as well get right into the whole thing, right? So,
in the cabinet room, so let's listen to that. You know, we're going to be meeting today with the video makers, having to do with
this is the beginning of the cabinet speech.
What impact and effect that has on school shootings and on children. And we have a very big meeting at 3:30. I call it an economic meeting. Something we have to do to protect our steel, our aluminum, and our country. But I want to just say that this one cabinet meeting has a lot of things have been happening. Very positive things have been happening for our country. I'm pleased to report that our very massive tax cuts are continuing to show tremendous results. 90% of American workers are already seeing bigger paychecks, and that number's actually going to go up.
This isn't true.
Almost 4.6 million people have received.
And of course, 90% isn't enough for him to make up. It's got to be going up.
Wages are rising at the fastest pace in more than a decade. Something that people have been waiting for.
And
as you know,
wages
when I was campaigning, I was talking
are going
about
up fastest pace in a decade. If there was a 1% wage, it would be going up.
Now, for the first time in a long time, they're starting to go up for people.
So the wages aren't really going up, and they're certainly not going up for 90%. And follow along with what this guy goes through.
Almost 3 million new jobs since the election, and unemployment.
There are lots of new jobs, and that number, you know, could very well be true. If you look at a graph, and because it's radio, I can't show you it or make one and show it to you, but you can find them all over the internet, I'm sure. If you look at a graph of job growth and job creation over the last 15 years, go back to 2008. I guess that's 10 years, huh? 18. So the job creation numbers going all the way back to when Obama, you know, came in after the big recession. The job numbers have steadily gone up. The stock market has steadily gone up. And it went up all the way through Obama. If you look at one of those charts that has the graph on it with a little arrow that goes up, this thing goes up all the way. I'm going to get back to the guy here again for a second.
Claims are at the lowest level in 49 years. Think of that.
Okay.
Unemployment at the lowest level in 40.
That probably is true,
years.
And it's been going down ever since 2008.
Statistic. We're also taking action to protect American industries that are vital to our national security, including American aluminum and steel. You'll at length at 3:30. Aluminum and steel are...
Okay, so that's the second time he's mentioned aluminum and steel. And then here he comes with the third time he's going to keep going on. And he's going to say he's not going to talk about it. He's going to talk about it later on at 3:30 to build some, you know, that's how he builds kind of this suspense for people. And whether he does the thing at 3:30 or not right now, if he didn't show up, no one will be surprised, right? But he's going to go here now and say the same thing he's going to say anyways at 3:30, even though he's not going to talk about it. And he's going to talk about it later on instead. Watch.
The backbone of our nation. They're the bedrock of our defense industrial base. Our greatest presidents, from Washington to Jackson to Lincoln to McKinley and others, they protected our country from outside influence from other countries coming in and stealing our wealth and stealing our jobs and stealing our companies.
Other countries coming to steal our...
We're going to be very fair. We're going to be very flexible. But we're going to protect the American worker, as I said I would do in my campaign.
He's tying this to steel and aluminum.
We also recognize that today is International Women's Day, and we're proud in all
Say
the
no more,
measures
right?
we've taken economically to empower women, especially in the workplace. You see what's happening. And
yeah, we see what's happening.
I'm very pleased to announce that the unemployment rate for women in our workforce is at an 18-year low. Lowest it's been in 18 years, and we're very close.
Probably
to the
true
all-time
also.
record, so we hope to be
And
able
if you
to
look
get
at the
that.
chart, it's going to have
So
gone
we'll
up
be able to say
steadily
it's the
all the
all-time
way
low.
since the big
So that
recession.
an 18-year low,
These numbers all are on
very
the
close to
steady
breaking the record.
incline.
As our economic
And he's taking credit for the
policies
whole
restore
thing, and
prosperity,
that's
we're
the
also working to bring back our safety. We have a lot of safety
the
provisions.
insidious
you read
thing.
so much about our cutting of regulations.
Safety.
But we are, in some cases, cutting, but in many ways making it stronger, having to do with safety. And I would also say, believe it or not, having to do with the environment. You can have few...
Okay, so he just went through and he was talking about killing regulations. Now, he forgot to put in the adjectives that that Republicans use, which is job-killing regulations. They use that job-killing thing like a sword. But the thing about killing regulations is that regulations and rules and laws, exist for a reason. Now, regulations in their basic sense are put to put checks in place. When you have a cat and radio, okay. So when you put these, what happens is things are going along fine with whatever the rules are, and then somebody gets killed because this machine, when it malfunctions, people have to stick their arm in and wiggle something, and it can be fixed, but that's going to cost a lot of money. So the coal mining company decides that this is the policy, and so people have to stick their arm in. And the machine sucks someone into it, and they die. I'm not making this up. This actually happened in the last well-publicized coal death. This is pretty much kind of what happened, coal mining death. So the regulations, so they put in so they had regulations. They put in regulation that said they had to, inspect these machines every X, I don't know if it's 30 days or 2 years, whatever it is. They put an inspection schedule in, and the machines weren't passing the inspection schedule. So the mining company started bypassing the safety protocols on the machines because they wanted, coal, not safe people. And, and people get killed. And there's not really any rules or regulations against it because you can't make rules or regulations against this kind of stuff. But they start making regulations, right? And they go, okay. So now they go, okay, well, if you're not going to do that, then we're going to have these machines inspected by an independent inspection company every 90 days, let's say. And the company goes, oh God, that means we'll have to keep them running all the time. And they throw a bunch of money into lobbyists, and lobbyists go and tell them how horrible that's going to be and try to keep it from happening. Well, eventually the regulations go in and people start, not dying as much. And fast forward, 30 years. And these guys right now are talking about, and Trump right now is talking about taking away regulations. And this is what we're talking about. And right now, right this very second, I'm going to back it up a tad bit. This very second, he's bringing up safety as he's making things safer by taking away regulation. And in some ways, we're by taking away regulations, we're making it safer at the same time. Well, I'll tell you what. It's only safer for investors and the people that own the company, okay? It's not safer for the human beings. And it's not safer for you or me. The regulations are put in place because companies don't do the right thing. Companies don't do the right thing. Okay, give me a second here. This phone is not hooked up and it's ringing. That's pretty scary, isn't it? real scary. I thought I unplugged that thing. I did unplug it, but apparently it still rings when it's unplugged. Sorry, folks. Okay, I was into regulations and rules and safety and how that feeds into the whole thing. And so I'm going to go ahead and let him talk again. He's going to be talking about safety and regulations. Just keep in mind what regulations are, what they do, and why they're put in place. And it's because corporations are not human friendly. So I'm going to go ahead and let him rip here.
The all-time low. So they've hit an 18-year low, and we're very close to breaking the record. As our economic policies restore prosperity, we're also working to bring back our safety. We have a lot of safety provisions. You read so much about our cutting of regulations, but we are, in some cases, cutting, but in many ways making it stronger, having to do with safety. And I would also say, believe it or not, having to do with the environment.
Okay, there it goes. So he just threw that in safety, and now he's going to go the same place on environment, right? And he's going to say that the environment is safer if there are less regulations, because when he took the remember, one of the first things he did was kill the clean water rules that Obama had put in place, so that corporations can dump stuff in people's water supplies and in running water. If this was a video podcast thing, I'd bring up right now a photo. So what I want you to do, make a note and do it right now in real time. But look up photos of Los Angeles, of downtown Los Angeles from 1970. Now, 1970 is the year the EPA was formed, the Environmental Protection Agency. And it also is the year of the first Earth Day celebration in Los Angeles. I was there. And I was there living in Los Angeles, and I remember what the air was like. And it was dark and orange and smelly a lot, quite frequently. And, if you lived on the East Coast or in high places anyways, you've had snow days, right? And you wake up and there's snow on the ground, and you hope that you get the message from the school, or you call the school to see if it's a snow day or not. And then you get to play in the snow if it is, or whatever your parents tell you to do. We had smog days. Okay, there was days where we had smog alerts, and there were smog days from school. There were days where there would just be a smog alert, and you really couldn't go outside, or you shouldn't go outside and breathe the air. I remember that, okay? The Environmental Protection Agency was formed, and California has been one of the strictest, as everyone, I think, on the face of the earth knows. California is pretty much the strictest requirements on pollution in the environment, and the CARB rules that California puts in place. When companies build to our standards, everyone across the rest of the country gets the benefits of this stuff, by the way. So now he's going to go into how it's healthier for people in the earth to take away regulations.
You can have fewer regulations and have the remaining regulations be stronger and more effective, and that's what we're doing. I would say doing it to a fare thee well, Scott. So it's we're having some
he nods to Scott Pruitt.
In recent weeks, I met with the victims of school shootings, including the courageous students from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, Florida.
He's reading directly from the page.
We're taking very strong action. As you know, bump stocks, we're almost finished with.
Okay, bump stocks are
papers. We have statutory.
Bump stocks are a straw issue. Bump stocks were used in Las Vegas, that all the gun nuts and preppers, because the press was making noise about, and Congress was actually making noise about having them made illegal. They sold out. They sold like tons of those in the next week or two after that. Bump stocks aren't and they're a straw issue. You know why? Look up trigger enhancements. Do a Google and look up AR-15 enhanced triggers. There's a company, Giselle or someone like that. These are triggers that are manufactured, I believe, for the military, but they're available, to purchase. And there's just do a video search on Google on videos on AR-15 enhanced triggers and watch how fast those go, because it's really scary. And those aren't on the list, right? So this bump stocks, this bump stocks, that. Bump stocks are the cheap and fast way to do what the enhanced triggers do for $100 or $200. Back to Trump.
Ceilings that we have to go through to get rid of things that
regulatory
people
ceilings
agree that we should get rid of. So bump stocks are just about finished from the standpoint of getting the legal work done, the paperwork. Again, you have to wait periods of time before you make the next move, and it's a long, complicated process, unfortunately. But bump stocks are going to be gone.
So over the since the Vegas shooting, he's been for a little while. Congress made noise about bump stocks, and fast forward, and he's been saying incrementally as he goes along to each public thing where he talks about it. He's saying that the legislation is moving along and everything's going to be strong, and he's moved it along in his mind and in his speech. And he talks about how this bump stock is just, he already said before that he's already signed off the thing and they don't exist anymore. He's said before, other stuff like that. And he's still talking about getting rid of it. But now he's got it to the point where the legislation, where he's made this whole thing up in his mind about how far it's gone. And he puts in, and he makes he says it's going to take 30 days for this, 90 days for that, because of the stupid government regulations. Nothing. This guy doesn't ever do anything. He just spews stuff. Come here, cat. When you have a cat and do the radio, sometimes they collide. You're going to let Trump go again.
And I want to congratulate the state of Florida and your representatives on some very good legislation.
This is great.
That's been passed. I guess they've been listening to me a lot more because
guns.
Unexpectedly they passed concealed carry for some very special teachers that have a great ability with weapons and with guns.
Okay, so because someone overheard him talking, now Florida passed some great gun legislation. Let me tell you about this gun legislation. It was gun legislation to restrict the sale of assault rifles to people from 18 to 21 years old, and I think it also put on a 3-day hold on all gun purchases, 3-day cooling off period or whatever on all purchases. And that's what the bill was. By the time they got done with it, it's a bill that doesn't do that, but it spends $67 million to finance arming teachers, putting guns and concealed weapons in teachers' hands in their schools, in their everything. So, got it? So the gun control measure that was supposed to stop the AR-15 from being sold to 18-year-olds turned into legislation. And this is how the sausage of government works, friends, when there's only one party in charge of everything. And it turns into legislation to do, something completely different. I'm going to let him go again here.
And they passed that. It was somewhat surprising to people because they didn't go in thinking about that, but I guess they liked what I said. And
that's right. They didn't go in thinking about that, but they came out with something else. He just said it.
They love their students. It's concealed, and I think it brings great safety. They're on the site. You don't have to call them. It doesn't take 15 or 20 minutes to get there. And
the sheriff's deputies who were already there told them to stay outside.
They passed that.
They're a supervisor.
And it's a lot of people were surprised. I wasn't so surprised. I think they did a great job in many respects, but they passed a lot of very good legislation.
The only thing they passed was what we talked about.
We're working to harden our schools and to make them less vulnerable to attack.
They can sell some more stuff.
To strengthen our early warning system so that when there are red flags, as we had in the case in Florida, there were 39 red flags, which is a disgrace.
This is another thing he does. Okay, there were 39 red flags. I'm sure there were. And it was a real mess. And they didn't do what needed to be done. But to come out here on television and tell the whole world that that the FBI is a mess and that everything's a mess. This was a case where, yeah, a lot of stuff was missed, but it's pretty typical. You know, there's a reason this stuff gets missed, and it's because the gun people won't allow any of the gun ownership records to be computerized. They actually legislate against it. So when you got to do a background check, someone has to go into a room full of file boxes. I swear to God, look up online and look at photos of the room. It's so overloaded. It's got file boxes on top of file cabinets, and they have to go and piles of boxes in hallways, and they have to go through and dig through those boxes looking for the record before in order to do the background check. For God's sake, if they computerized it, all this stuff would link together. But it's against the law to do study. By the way, Congress makes it against the law to do to fund studies on gun research and gun violence. So it's against the law to check gun violence, and on top of everything else. I'm going to let Trump go again here.
Red flags. They were crying out for somebody to go and nab that guy.
He's called this guy
take action quickly and decisively.
A horrible man, and this kid's like 18.
Common sense measures to protect the rights of law-abiding gun owners while keeping guns out of the hands of those who pose a violent threat or even a threat.
Remember that the very first gun thing that Trump did when he came into office was kill Obama's executive order saying that people who are mentally ill, who are agitated to be mentally ill, or domestic violence, violent people, were to be also added to the screening process. And the first thing, and this is mentally ill people too. This is people who have been deemed by judges that can't handle their own finances. They have to have a person to hire to do their finances because they're not, mentally capable of handling their own finances. As one is, for instance. But they're not allowed to put that information into a database. They were allowed to, but Trump took that away. Okay, Trump rescinded the executive order that said that they can't, that they have to check for mental capacity and domestic violence before, as part of the background check. So Trump took that away, and now he's talking about, why regulations are good for people.
Background checks are moving along in Congress.
Another lie.
And I think moving along pretty well.
They aren't moving at all.
You've been covering Congress for a long time. And some things like even background checks, making them tougher. It's never that easy, but it's moving along.
Because of the Republican pushback.
We're making it much tougher.
And the NRA. The NRA is a real problem.
Things are happening right now as we speak. I will also say that at the state level, a lot of states are doing things that go along with the federal government. A lot of this can be done by states, as was the case over the last few days with Florida. And really some tremendous legislation is happening with states and having to do with school safety and safety.
So now you're saying that other states should follow and put guns in schools.
We must secure the communities where our kids are growing, and wherever they go, we have to secure, and wherever anybody goes.
So he's talking about kids, but now it's got to turn into this big thing. You can tell when he wings it.
Like I think no other administration.
It's always got to be the best administration ever.
The MS-13 and the gangs, they're vicious, they're horrible.
And there are 2,500 of them total. So go ahead, Mr. President.
And there's just no excuse for allowing them to flourish as they were. We've taken thousands of them out of circulation.
That's all of them.
We've got them out of the country, or they're in jail.
That's all of them.
And we're tackling this deadly scourge like nobody's ever tackled it before. Sanctuary cities, we're working very hard. The Justice Department.
Another attack on California outright.
Job. I do think we should.
Florida's exempt, so he can't see him from his golf clubs.
And the money that we give them, you want the money, you can't have the sanctuary cities. That way we avoid the court battles all the time, which we probably will.
So it's our money from California.
You want the money.
You know what? Screw it. You keep your money, we'll keep our money, and we'll be a stronger economy than the entire country.
Where they had close to 1,000 people ready to be gotten, ready to be taken off the streets. Many of them, they say 85% of them.
Okay, so 1,000 people. He claims that we're going to take 1,000 people off the street. That number is probably 500 or something, because any number that this man uses is wrong and is way smaller, way larger than it should be, and it gets bigger every time he talks about it. So here he's talking about what he's going to say as a brag about this thing is 1,000 people, and 85% of them even had some kind of record, which means that 15% of them had no record at all, but they're as dangerous as the rest of them. That's the dog whistle that's in the background going on. Mr. President?
Were criminals and had criminal records. And the mayor of Oakland went out, and she went out and warned them all, scatter. So instead of taking in 1,000, they took in a fraction of that, about 150.
If he says 150, it was probably 300.
All set. This was long in the planning. And she said, get out of here. And she's telling that to criminals. And it's certainly something
she did a radio show
with respect to her individually.
She made a comment on a radio show,
very
right?
Dangerous from the standpoint of ICE.
And now it's all dangerous, right?
Very dangerous. She really.
This is what he does: fear and loathing.
Much more dangerous than it had to be. So we're looking at that situation very carefully. We're also establishing.
What does that have to do with the cabinet meeting?
Interagency Council on Crime Prevention and improving reentry to help former inmates reenter society as productive citizens. We have people. Okay,
so the prison system. Jeff Sessions is all about prisons and inmates and putting them in jail. So what they're going to do here, what he's doing here is he's planting the seed in people's minds that people are going to be given a fresh start and start over again after jail, and everything's going to be fine. And what that does is so that when you're putting people into jail, their families don't worry so much, because they know when they come out, they're going to have a better education than they went in, which is never, ever, 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 ever going to happen under Jeff Sessions in any case. I'm sorry, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III. Okay, I'm going to let him rip again. Go ahead, Mr. President.
People that have been in jail, they made a mistake, they get out, and they can't get a job no matter what they do. Now, the thing I think I'm doing best for...
Do you know, a fun fact is that more than half the people in private prisons in the United States are undocumented immigrants. So the private prison network is really, Jeff Sessions has been feeding it ever since he came in with undocumented people. And he's separating the children from their mothers when they come in and sending them to different states and not telling anyone where they are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I digress. Let's go back to President Trump.
Them is making the economy so strong that we need them in the whole system. And many of them go in and they're phenomenal employees. Phenomenal. We're doing studies on that. In fact, we're going to be putting out some information. But they go into the system, and when they can get a job, they really take advantage of it. They do a great job, and it's very important.
So, in other words, also watch for some kind of big tax breaks for prisons who pretend to want to offer, remediation or helping people get back into a society from prison. Or better yet, one of his wife's buddies is going to start a program that does this, that does rehabilitation, and they're going to take... Well, I don't know. His wife's one friend took $26 million from the inauguration fund to throw an inauguration that was several times more expensive than even Barack Obama's largest inauguration of all time. You see how I digress? How it all. But the thing is, it all ties together. It's all really important. So Sessions is cramming the prisons full of people, some of them for drugs. He wants to, by the way, his solution to opiate solution is to imprison people. By the way, if you didn't know that. This guy is a hardcore Southern hypocrite, is what he is. And he's I'm not talking about him, am I? Let's go back to Mr. Trump.
Each of the cabinet secretaries here today has a very vital role. one of the things I'll be starting off the meeting with is to continue to cut regulations. We have a tremendous way to go. I think we're probably 40% of the way
back to regulations,
there.
cutting regulations.
Statutory requirements make it where you have to give a 90-day notice, then you have to give a 30-day notice, then you have to give a 6-month.
He blames it on policy.
By the time you give all these notices, time goes by.
As it's designed to do.
12 months. In fact, at the end of the 11th month, we cut far more regulations than any administration in the history of our country.
A, that's probably a lie, but B, that's not good. That's good for corporations
so nobody's close. But we're gonna
and rich fucks.
We really have a lot more to go. And we're working with General Matters very much on the Army Corps of Engineers.
Who he's trying to replace right now.
Not so fast. And they're
see, he's going to bag on him because he's
so we're gonna get that
trying to get rid of Mattis.
We're working on that. The Army Corps, EPA gets it done, and we're all getting it done. The Army Corps has to follow much quicker, and we may have to streamline it.
He just can't stop himself.
Areas of the.
We may need to streamline them. This is the dog whistle for we may need to streamline them is put Steve Mnuchin or whatever the hell that guy's name is in charge of it. The problem with the fact that none of the people there could get security clearances is because they're all dicks. They're all tied up with different. They're like Trump has 500 LLCs. They're all like liability divested punks. And it oh me oh my. I'm going to let him go again.
Country that really have nothing to do with the Army Corps so much anymore. So General Mattis is working to streamline that whole procedure. And some jobs are being held up because of the Army Corps of Engineers.
He really hates Mattis and wants to get rid of him. You can tell.
Have to speed that up.
But he can't fire anyone because he's a wuss.
This is Gary Cohn's last meeting in the cabinet and of the cabinet, and he's been terrific.
Gary Cohn is his advisor on economics, and one of his pipe dreams was to take away taxes on corporations and pass the cost all along onto the middle and lower classes, which he solved. So he's pretty much got his life's work, done, his big wet dream done, and now we're gonna and then Trump turns around and throws this frickin' steel and aluminum tariff out of the blue. He hadn't talked to anyone about it. The State Department didn't know about it. Nobody knew about it. The Commerce Secretary didn't know about it. The heads of the state, the regulators didn't know about it. The banks didn't know about it. Everybody that is involved with this knew nothing about it. He just threw it out. And you know why he threw it out? I'll tell you why he threw it out. Because he was really mad that Jared Kushner had lost his security clearance and that Ivanka and Jared don't do anything except wheel and deal illegal commerce every day. I mean, General Kelly himself calls them freelancers, quote unquote. Doesn't know what they're doing there. And you can tell it just makes me absolutely crazy. I'm going to flesh out some of this in more individualized sections because I want to get back to Mr. Trump here again and his bogus. The attorney the tax policy guy. Trump said the tariff thing. Tax policy guy goes, that's completely against everything that we're doing. It'll ruin the economy. Don't do it or I'll quit. And Trump said tough titties and he quit. So that's why this guy is leaving that Trump is about to heap false praise on. Go ahead, Mr. President.
He may be a globalist, but I still like him.
Nice dig on him.
Seriously a globalist, there's no question. But you know what? In his own way, he's a nationalist because he loves our country. And where's Gary? You love our country, dude.
He just said two opposite things that are completely opposite.
And he's going to go out and make another couple of $100 million, and then he's going to maybe come back. He might come back.
He's talking about replacing General Kelly with this guy.
It's a long time, but I have a feeling you'll be back.
Okay, you heard it here first. He wants to put Gary Cohn and replace the Chief of Staff, John Kelly. You heard it from me first.
But I want to, no, seriously, on behalf of all of us, I want to thank Gary. He's been great. He really worked with Wilbur and Steve and all of the people. Mike.
Wilbur Ross.
We all worked so hard
Steve
on the tax cuts, and they have been far beyond, I would say, Gary, our wildest expectations. I mean, what we thought would be very good has turned out to be unbelievable, great. And people are appreciating it a lot. The Democrats don't know what to do. They're saying, oh, boy, this is turning out to be not good for them. We didn't get one Democrat vote. So I just want to thank Gary. Before me, there's some rocket ships. You haven't seen that for this country in a long time. And many of the jobs we're doing, and Mike Pence is the chairman, many of these jobs we're doing are privately financed. We're letting them use the Kennedy Space Center for a fee. And, you know, rich guys, they love rocket ships. And that's good. It's better than us paying for them. And I noticed the price.
Okay. So rich guys like rocket ships. And what he's doing here, he's giving you a precursor because he wants to privatize NASA. He wants to privatize the International Space Station. He wants to privatize airports and national parks. He wants to give it all to corporations because, you know, corporations hate humans and all of those things are pro-human, right? So, it just really gets to me the way that that doesn't matter, right? So okay.
The last one, they said it cost $80 million. If the government did it, the same thing would have cost.
Here he goes. He's talking about Elon Musk. He's talking about that he shot his car into space. So it's really super bitchin'. And if you haven't seen it, look it up because you want to see the pods land afterward. Trump gets this right. He, you know, when he sees stuff on TV that's neat, he's right. So look it up if you haven't, and look at the rocket boosters from the last SpaceX heavy rocket launch. Now, SpaceX is one of the companies that's run by Elon Musk. And Elon Musk is, I think he's South African, who has a lot of money. He's the one that he's the Tesla guy. He builds the Tesla cars. He's just finished creating solar roof tiles, so that instead of putting a big solar panels on your roof, you put tiles on your roof that are the actual roofing material. They're also solar tiles, so they collect energy, and, you know, it gets saved in batteries somewhere. This guy is the same guy that's doing the Hyperloop, and that's, if you don't know what that is, that's where they're gonna put you in a pod and shoot you through tubes to get you places really quickly. Kind of like if you ever saw those pneumatic air tubes in real life, in my case, when I worked at Fedco, but in banks and stuff, they use them still probably. But the pneumatic tubes, and you put something you put the paper or the whatever in a tube, and you stick it into the thing, it goes, and off it goes, and it goes really fast because of the pneumatic pressure and vacuum. It's going to work like that, and it works, and they've done tests on it. And I think the first interstate contract was just done for that between probably DC and Virginia, or two places where rich old politicians work and live. So I say that, you know, half tongue in cheek, but if you look at it, that's exactly what it's going to be. Anyways, whatever it takes. So he's already, you know, he's going to be building these subways basically that go 200 miles an hour, and you know, so he's working on that. This one American entrepreneur, he may be a U.S. citizen naturalized. I should probably look that up, and it probably won't take me too long to do it. South African-born Canadian-American business magnate, investor and engineer, okay? So, he's got another company called Neuralink. It's so the guy, and he's a real, you know, he gives money to education to advance science and facts, which are things that matter to him. One guy, and he's doing all this stuff. And he's not, I'm not sure he's an American citizen. I know he wasn't born here. And now President Trump is taking credit, saying how wonderful it is that he wants to privatize the space thing. That way the government doesn't have to pay for it, but the corporations do. And he's using the only one corporation in the entire frickin' world, or entire U.S. Stratosphere anyways, who's done anything progressive and put his own money out there and his own personal everything out there to advance technology that works for people and humans. Nobody else is doing that. The bottom line for American corporations is the almighty dollar. Profit. That's all that matters to them. And that's what I'm going to do a whole thing on corporations, because that's really the evil thing in the whole government thing is money, and it's corporation money, and it's the unlimited money allowed by Citizens United. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm going to go back to the president here, where he's taking credit and talking about how things in the future are all going to be this way. But remember, it's only one corporation that's doing it, and it's one guy who's doing all of these things. And it doesn't apply to anyone or anything else, because everyone else just cares about profit, and they're not ever going to do any of this stuff until we force them to. Mr. President?
Probably 40 or 50 times that amount of money. I mean, literally. When I heard 80 million, I'm so used to hearing different numbers with NASA. But NASA's making tremendous strides, and we're using a lot of private money, a lot of people that love rockets, and they're rich.
One guy.
So they're going to be a little less rich probably, but a lot of rockets are going up, and we're really at the forefront. Nobody's doing what we're doing. I don't know if you saw last with Elon with the rocket boosters where they're coming back down. To me, that was more amazing than watching the rocket go up. Because I've never seen that before. Nobody's seen that before.
The only true thing he said so far is completely true.
Without wings, without anything, they landed so beautifully. So we're really at the forefront, and we're doing it in a very private manner. At the same time, NASA is very much involved in doing their own projects. But we're bringing that whole space flight back. We'll be sending something very beautiful to Mars in the very near future.
He just pulled that out of his butt.
We're going to areas that nobody thought possible, certainly not this quickly. So we're very
this quickly.
Outside, and
it's all because he's fast.
Spread much further apart. I said, let's bring them a little closer so the cameras can see it. But it's really amazing what's happening with regard.
Okay, so. Okay, sorry about the dead air there, folks. Well, that was the thing, and the speech he gave, and I gave my comments on it, and probably ruined the whole thing for you. So go watch it yourself. But I wanted to point out like the ratio of good and or positive things and or true things that this man says at any one time, compared to what's really happening and what he's saying that isn't true, and the figures and numbers he uses that he just pulls out of the air, and it's pretty nuts. I think that's going to just about do it for this show. Hope you enjoyed it, and come take a look again. I do these kind of ad hoc, these shows, and I hope you enjoyed it.